Boopity boo.
Bang! Hello there, gamers. Welcome back to my hideout. I am your host, the Hood, back with another gameplay video for your entertainment. Today it is Storytime again with the life and suffering of Sir Brante in times of the fall of the blessed Orkneyan Empire. Jesus, that's a mouthful. My voice has been plenty rested, so I am ready to go. I have forgotten every single voice that I attributed to the characters in the last episode. The only ones with any consistency will be Sir Hood Brante, because that is me, and the girls, because
That is the same voice every time. One's just a little bit louder than the other.
that was Mother. And the other one. The first episode saw us reach 8 years old. And now we will pick up the story and find out what happens to us in our youth. Before we carry on though, you know what's coming. Yes, I am holding a subscriber spring giveaway. And if you wish to take part, then what you need to do is follow the steps in the description down below or head over to my Twitter page and see my pinned tweet for more details. But now, the story continues with the life and suffering of Sir Hood Brante. So a quick recap of episode 1 saw us born in 1118. 1122 saw our brother and sister's sacrament. Nathan was born. 1124. Grandfather, that prick, came back. And he killed me, and I suffered my first death and rebirth. And in 1125, I persuaded my father against all the rules to teach me fencing before my very own sacrament, where I defied them and stood up as I received the lash. Now though, let's continue the story and see what comes next. However, before we start, what I want to do is turn off the consequences. So it is now a mystery as to what bonus I will receive following my choices. Adolescence. How many years? Is that another 8 years?
I was growing up fast. The school, the streets, and the whole wide world awaited me beyond the gate of my parents' house.
It begins. You've lived in this world for 8 years now. As you grow older, life grows more complex. The world of your childhood was limited to your house and family, but now that realm is expanding. It also includes your neighborhood, the nearby houses, the streets of the ancient city of Anazote. A question now looms over you, growing more pressing with each passing year. What will your place be in this vast outside world? Few people in the blessed Orkneyan Empire trouble themselves with this question. It's not within a man or woman's power to choose. Their destiny is predetermined by their birth and those who bore them. But not us. Not us. And yet your peculiar birth has granted you a choice. Your father is a man of nobility, a worthy example in matters of duty and honor. Your mother is a commoner of lowly estate's humility and patience made flesh. And your sky is ablaze day and night with the light of the shining pillar, the beacon of the clergy. Your back bears the mark of the lash. Will you accept the drudgery and suffering that is the lot of the lowborn for your entire life? No, we will not! Or will you follow in the footsteps of your father and your father's father and fight for the right to serve the empire as a noble of the mantle? Perhaps will you follow the twin god's word and offer spiritual guidance to others? Hell no. The answer lies out there in the vast, terrifying world. What awaits you beyond the walls of your home? Events that can happen to the Brante family in this chapter. Gloria's secret. You discover the secret society your sister Gloria has joined. Stephen's disgrace. We need that one. You find out about your elder brother's forbidden love. Blood tide. You join the blood tide of the Brante family. Or Nathan's admonition. Your younger brother Nathan Brante receives a spiritual admonition from you. So this time we've got new statistics to work towards, because before it was just determination, willpower, and was it empathy? I can't remember. And now we've got ingenuity, nobility. Oh, that's 3 different things. Oh, Gregor Brante needs to like me. That's Grandad, isn't it? I hate that guy. I won't be joining the blood tide. And spirituality. Oh my god, there's more. Matters of the heart. You experience your first romantic feelings, conditions. Meet a girl. Revelation of the tree. You experience a revelation by the sacred silver tree. So fire saved. You saved the local girl named Sophia from a lesser death. So here are my new qualities. Nobility, ingenuity, spirituality, willpower, deaths. Oh, do I not get to keep the old ones? Relations is available, blah, 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 blah. I don't care. Carry on. Continue. Get me into the story. Let's start. Let's go. I'm ready. The year is 1126, and I am 9 years old. The boy down the street. The family expects more and more of you as you grow up. The teachers and tutors hired by your father keep you on your toes all the time. Your life these days is dedicated to studying for your future, for the future of the Brante family. Your younger brother Nathan keeps growing up too. He can hold a conversation now. You never refuse him when he comes to play, provided you have a bit of free time between your demanding lessons. It is a rainy day today. Father and mother have gone to a ball, and they left Nathan in your care. You lose track of time over the books in the sitting room, and Nathan goes off, alone to splash in the creek. Soon you hear his voice begging you to come outside. He is on the porch, sobbing, all covered in dirt. You walk up to him as he continues to bawl. It's all that kid. He pushed me into the ditch and called me names. He said I was a fancy pants fool. I said I'll call my brother. He's still there. You have to go punish him, Hood. Punish him, eh? Nathan points at a lopsided wooden house further down the street where the poorer artisans live. You see two boys lingering on the porch. They are clearly both commoners, but far from poor. One of them is almost as tall as Nathan, and he frowns in a funny way, just like him. The other looks older, almost your age, but he is more broad-shouldered and taller. His name is Thomas. You've heard it before. There, Hood, that's him! Nathan points at the younger boy and hides behind your back. Thomas grins and rolls up his sleeves to reveal strong forearms. He must have been helping his father with manual labor for quite some time. Listen up, rich boys. We don't give a damn about you or your friendship. We don't let nobody call our home a stinking rat hole. Your little brother earned his ditch dive. Maybe next time he'll dress normal and stop picking fights with people who could throw him in the mud. Your hands clench into fists before you react. Nathan called them names first. No wonder they did the same. That's how it goes. But pushing your brother into a ditch is too much. Thomas stands tall and confident. He sees no threat in you. You are about to get ready for a fight when you feel a tug on your sleeve. You turn your head to see Nathan, the one who started the whole mess. Come at Thomas and give him a beating. Say your brother is to blame. Resolve the matter peacefully, or listen to your brother first. Let's listen to him. He obviously has something he wants to say. Nathan keeps tugging on your sleeve harder and harder. Finally, you turn to look at him. Don't fight him, please. Look, he's huge. Let's go home. Who cares about them? You're all sweaty. Why am I sweaty? Are you gonna listen to your... I can't remember his voice. Damn it. This was only 10 seconds ago. Are you gonna listen to your little brother and walk away like a coward? All you rich boys are chickens. You do nothing but squawk. But when the push comes to the shove, you run home to mommy. Well, you've wound me up now, Thomas. Now he's done it, correct. Your patience has run out. You swing at Thomas, and you have a choice. And he jumps back, surprised by your assault. It takes him a moment to compose himself, but now he is ready. His fists cover his face, and he attacks you with a quick jab. Now it is your turn to take a step backward. You start trading blows, huffing and puffing with rage. The younger brothers gawk in awe at the sight. Thomas does not resort to fancy moves, dirty tricks, or stupid taunts. He displays nothing but skill earned in many a street fight, and his heavy fists aim for your head. You keep dodging him again and again, trying to reach him. He takes a couple of glancing blows, but easily shakes them off. What a bruiser! You start swinging your fists with greater and greater fury. Don't panic now, Hood. Calm down. Keep your composure and wallop him in the balls. Your heart is pounding like a hammer. You see nothing but the foe in front of you. How much longer will this take? You're worn out. Your breath goes ragged and your muscles grow heavy. But there is no way you can give up now. Nathan is watching you. Desperate and out of options, you swing and punch Thomas square in the nose, then immediately let his fist smack you in the temple. The blow rings through your head like a bell and blinds you for a moment. The world swims before your eyes. You clutch at your head to get your bearings. Thomas is standing in front of you, blood dripping from his nose. You no longer want to fight it out, and it seems your opponent would rather end it too. But you keep standing there, eyeing each other angrily. Then, suddenly, you hear an angry shout right next to you. An enraged man in a craftsman apron is shaking his fist. Thomas's face contorts in terror right away. It's my father! Run! The punishment for fighting is flogging, and the mere prospect of that makes you run like the wind. Thomas sprints in front of you. You dash across the rotten wooden planks of the back alley, up and over a lopsided fence, across a giant puddle in one leap, and then forward into the tall grass. You hide there and stay quiet. You hear no sounds of pursuit. You exchange glances with Thomas and start laughing. His laughter is loud and infectious, but soon he cuts it short and grows sadder. I'm gonna get flogged anyways. My dad's always quick to give me a beating, and then he'll start nagging me about the lots and the prayers for days like he always does. Why do I always get myself mixed up in this stuff? But fighting is the only way to prove you're worth anything, right? The adults didn't see you fighting, you tell him, so all you have to do now is convince them you weren't. Nosebleeds happen, right? Mother gets nosebleeds all the time. Well, we could try it. Let's hope our little brothers don't tell on us. I'll talk to mine. There's a scratch on your head. Don't let them see it. Good thing I didn't hit you in the face. There, good as new. You assure him that Nathan will never tell, and in return, you'll make sure he behaves himself so he won't get tossed into a ditch again. With that, you shake hands with Thomas. His handshake is as strong as you would expect based on his fists. You make your way out of the tall grass. You need to leave before Thomas's father goes to your family and complains about you breaking your lot. You come to a realization on the way back. You had no idea the place where you were hiding even existed, and it wasn't too far from home. Thomas smiles in excitement when he hears this. Oh, I know lots of places like that. I tell you what, if we get out of this mess today, I'll show you the way to the old fortress wall. It's the perfect place to build your own fort. I dragged a couple of planks there. Too bad it's no fun to build alone. My brother never helps. He just gets in the way. I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship. You emerge from the muddy back alleys, united by a secret only the two of you know. It seems you've made a friend today. The year is 1127, and I am a year older. Riders on the road. It is blistering hot today, even for the sun-parched land of Magra. As soon as you are done with your studies, you dash outdoors and out of the stuffy room. You and Thomas roll up your shirt sleeves, but it barely helps. You would gladly go shirtless had you only been in the company of other boys, but there are 3 girls in the yard today. They are doing the laundry in a big wash tub, whispering and giggling. If you could, you would gladly keep watching one of them at work. She has big eyes of deep blue, her dark hair is braided, and her plain grey dress is mended and patched all over. Her name is Sophia. She throws her head back a little when she laughs. The rays of the sun are reflected in her eyes. You, Thomas, and the other boys keep telling silly stories, anything to make her laugh. I need another girl's voice. I don't have one, it's tough, Sophia. You're gonna have to sound like my mum and my sister, and that's one of the things that I quite like about you.
You sure love telling tales, Hood. Oh, I remember this one time.
At band camp. But then, Sophia hears a voice calling her home. She nods to you and runs across the street smiling. Her light steps carry her forward, but her eyes are looking elsewhere. But then a stone on the road catches her foot. She stumbles and falls flat into the dust. The street starts shaking from the thundering of hooves. Riders appear on the road from around the corner. They bear a coat of arms you recognize right away. A sable serpent blade upon a field of vert. It symbolizes the Milonidas dynasty, the family of your province's archduke. The horses dash forward. A lost wooden toy on the road cracks under their hooves. They will not slow down. They are the nobles, and the rest must make way for them. Sophia is in the way, just now starting to get back on her feet. Her mother is crying for her desperately from behind the fenced door. You freeze in terror. The riders surely see the girl. Are they going to stop, or are they going to trample her? In only a few moments, this beautiful girl will be toppled, trampled, and crushed. We must shield her, or she will surely die. Am I gonna die? You throw yourself blindly into the road, swinging your arms wildly, dazed by the sound of the thundering hooves. You can see nothing in the dust. For a brief moment, the horses slow down, just long enough for Sophia to get back on her feet and flee to the roadside. But then the riders dig their spurs in. Dozens of hooves knock you off your feet and roll across your body. Your bones crack, break, and crumble. Your ears are ripped apart by the thundering rhythm of the ride. Your innards are pulverized. The last thing you remember is the sound of your own skull caving in. But tell me, did I survive? Doesn't sound promising. Here I go again. Second death. Impenetrable darkness surrounds you. You stand alone, bare to your very essence. It paralyzes you. You have an urge to cover yourself, to hide. No one should see you so vulnerable. But you cannot conceal the truth in this place. You are bathed in an unbearably bright light. It has no warmth in it. It is blinding. It leaves no shadows in the entire world. It is the light of the shining pillar itself. In this radiance, you can clearly see all your thoughts and doubts, your errors and transgressions, the contradictions that have permeated you since birth. They cover you from head to toe like rough, grey tatters. But they melt away in this light. You are naked. You feel liberated and whole. It is as though all the wounds and cracks in your soul have been healed, making it the way it should be. It is as though the scales have fallen from your eyes. You see the true shapes of things now. These are the laws by which the world abides, the grand design that moves life itself. You tread a path that is barely visible in the blinding light, giving shape to everything. In this light, you see the infinite complexity of the world, from the tiniest leaf to the enormity of the empire. And this world maintains its balance by virtue of the law that was embedded in it during the act of creation. Ahead of you, 2 figures are waiting on the path. They are gigantic, many times taller than a man. The elder holds a lash, the younger a sword. The younger gazes at you sternly. Coldly, you kneel obediently before him and lower your head. The god raises his sword above you. This is divine retribution. There is no law without it, nor can there be. Every action has consequences. This is what shapes the world, making its very existence possible. In this moment, beneath the gaze of the merciless god, you comprehend the law that binds the entire world together. Which manifestation of the law in will you live by? Are these the same choices as last time? Did I choose myself? Or did I choose cause? I can't remember. Let's have a look. I don't remember against the law. You defy the design of the gods and the law that binds it together. I mean, that sounds like a dangerous choice given that I'm dead. Forget family, forget Lot, forget empire. I'm gonna go against the law. I'm an outlaw. The blade flashes. The Junger's sword slashes through the air above your head. You do not yet deserve your final punishment. The law demands that you continue your life. Your form has not been completely destroyed, nor has that of the world. The Junger extends his gigantic hand and shows you the way. You must proceed. The path leads you to the top of the crown of the silver tree, spread wide in a white gleam. The branches are close now. It is time to descend. You are drawn downward into the darkness. The shadows that had disappeared in the blinding glow creep around you and envelop you. This is to be expected, but the purity and clarity of spirit are still with you. Something is forcing your throat open. Air. It scratches you on the inside. Your soul is filled with struggle again, with the contradictions from which the fabric of this world and you, yourself, are woven. The divine light that gave you clarity is fading away with each passing moment. You have to open your eyes. Above you is the dark ceiling of the crypt. You are reborn. Hoorah! Then you can feel again. You sense your body, head, arms, and legs. The light fades around you, obedient before a will that is stronger than you. You return to the world. Such is the law of the twins. You will return to the world until the time of your true death. And in this world, you will have a body with which to feel pain and suffering and pleasure. You smell a sickly, moist odor. You open your eyes and see the figures of mother and father in the gloom of the family crypt, speaking to each other quietly. They stop as soon as they hear you gasp. Mother runs to you and locks you in an embrace as father wraps you in his cloak. Neither of them say a word as they lead you out to the surface and back home. You've met a terrible end, my son. You were trampled by those horses. Don't be so careless ever again. The lives you were granted by the twin gods are not to be wasted so recklessly. You would be punished for this, but the twins have already meted out their punishment. I think that's the same voice! You tremble, your steps unsteady as you learn how to move again. Your body's eerily smooth, fresh, and renewed. Even the recent scars and scratches are all gone, but there is something new on it, a fresh black mark, a reminder of your lesser death beneath those hooves.
Remember that, by the twins' mercy, we are all given enough time in this world. Should you die before your time, you will be brought back by their grace. For 3 times they will rescue you from a terrible fate, but the 4th death is true and final for all.
Now I'm wondering if there's an option to die in each chapter, which would mean that I could not get to see all 5 chapters if I'm not careful. So that's 2 down so far. But like I say, I no longer see the consequences. So, I mean, I think it was obvious I was going to die that time. I expected that one.
Every loss of a life we were granted at our birth is a heavy blow to us. But the gods told us not to mourn a lesser death. And so we will humbly accept this and move on. See? Your body has been reborn anew, with all your wounds healed. Do not mourn your loss of life, my son, but thank the twin gods for their justice. Do not speak of this, and do not ever play by the road again if you wish to keep on living.
Jesus Christ, Mum, that's a little bit harsh. You cautiously go back outside to the next day. Children from the neighborhood surround you. They all saw you get trampled, and now they all ask you the same question. What was it like to die? Tomas rescues you from their pestering. He pushes the motley crew aside, hugs you, and pats you on the back. Look at you, buddy! You gave an entire life to keep a girl safe! Then you see Sophia. She is standing nearby, shyly working up the courage to walk over to you. Soon, she finally approaches you and begins speaking rapidly. Rapidly? No!
Hood, why did you? Why did you throw yourself in front of those horses? My life isn't worth more than yours, so why did you think that? You weren't supposed to die there. It's all those riders' fault. They deserve to die, not you.
You're right there, Sophia. Her voice rises to a shriek. She suddenly stops and runs back home. You stay where you are, watching her run. The golden rays of the sun dancing in her braided hair. Oh yes, check out my scores. They're all going up. Sophia saved. Yes. The year is 1128. Fall. Soil and gunpowder. Sophia disappeared after the terrible incident with the horses. Her friends gossip that her parents sent her off to serve a rich noble dynasty. You haven't seen each other since that day, but you still remember Sophia's eyes, the sunlight shining in them. But no matter what, life goes on. You are 10 years old now, your studies continue, and you are learning more about the land you live in. Anazote is an ancient city in an imperial province by the name of Magra. All soil in Magra was turned to ash eons ago, scorched by magic during the rebellion of Duke Char Millenidus. The magical arts are all but gone now, but the scorched earth has remained barren and infertile ever since. Since then, the entire province has lain barren, tormented by cold and scorching winds in equal measure, with few precious plants taking root on their own. All fertile land in Magra is bought elsewhere and brought here by an endless caravan of carts and carriages. To pay for food and soil, the cities of Magra became skilled in many trades, primarily mining and digging for metals and stone. What about diamonds? Last fall there was an explosion just outside the city, followed by clouds of thick smoke. The first such incident frightened the citizens, but then explosions and smoke became an everyday occurrence. Soon everyone grew used to it. Father explains that the miners are using a new invention called gunpowder. It makes it easier for them to reach the precious stones and metals buried deep within the earth. Then one day, a thunderous explosion rocks the city, and black, billowing smoke covers the houses. People are stuck in their homes, all windows tightly shut. The air is impossible to breathe. Nathan coughs all the time. Gloria and you cough only when nobody is watching. If Mother hears it, she'll make you inhale those hot, herbal vapors, just like Nathan. It takes 2 days for the black smoke to disperse. People pour out onto the streets to meet their friends. Thomas is eager to share everything he knows about this incident with you. They took lots of burnt-up people to the city temple. Mom told me she was helping the healers. There are many rumors. Some claim it was the work of a beast stirred from its slumber, while others say it's the surviving witches that continue to threaten the Order and the Empire with their accursed powers. But as for you patiently wait for Father to come back home, and then you'll ask him all about it. Father spends day and night working at the prefecture, while Mother spends all her time in prayer. It takes a full week for Father to finally come home, and he's almost completely spent. You muster enough courage during dinner to ask him what happened outside the city. Father raises his head, his face a bleak, weary mask, and starts muttering his proclamation. It's almost as if he doesn't see you. It's the mine outside the city. They were trying to get a vein of ore. There was an explosion, the mine caved in, and the black smoke started flowing. Many workers died there. It was all because Count El Velasco, who owns the mines, wanted them to start mining that vein before they were ready. Some of the workers weren't even reborn. Perhaps the twins thought their final time had come. The prefecture had been inundated with complaints from families that have lost their breadwinners, asking the judges for help. Many people also lost their cattle to the black smoke. Count El Velasco blames gunpowder for the disaster. The prefecture and the newspapers just repeat whatever he says. But it's plain old greed and tyranny of noblemen that are to blame. Why the welfare of our province is always paid for with commoner lives. Then, without warning, he grows silent again. You keep thinking about it for days. Can a human life really end so easily? A single moment of bad luck and you die, only to re-emerge from the temple or the family crypt with a new black mark on your arm. Or worse, you remain where you fell, dead, never to be reborn again, ever! Oh Christ, Stephen's arrival! During lunch, Father tells you to stay home in the evening and prepare to meet some important guests. Your elder brother Stephan will return home by dinner tonight. Joining him will be your grandfather, Gregor Brante, as well as a noble friend of the family. You're excited about your brother's return. I'm not. It has been years since you last saw him. How has he changed during his years away from home? I imagine he's become an even bigger prick. You and Father await the guests anxiously. The doorbell rings. 3 people are standing outside. Grandfather is the first to come in, naturally. He has not changed a bit since his last visit, still eyeing the house with contempt, looking for any reason to demean it. Grandfather is followed by a stately young man, dressed in a jacket embroidered in silver, whom you barely recognize as your brother. Stephan casts a glance at your threadbare clothes, your dirty fingernails, and smirks. I knew it! The last to enter the house is a personable gentleman with a worn-out, wrinkled face. You have heard a lot about this man from Father and Grandfather. He is Baron Augustin Elborn, Stephen's uncle, a family friend, and the province's prefect, which means that he's the head judge, and thus Father's superior. Sir Elborn smiles lightly and offers you his hand. Not a new voice.
And this must be your younger son, Hood, yes? You have your father's eyes, young man.
Father bows slightly to Grandfather and Sir Elborn, but there is a moment of quiet when Stephen's turn comes. Father reaches out to him awkwardly, expecting an embrace. There is a question in Stephen's eyes as he looks at grandfather. The old man shakes his head almost imperceptibly. We noblemen aren't put our emotions on public display, father, not even after a lengthy separation. There is no embrace. Instead, Stephen nods to father curtly. He responds in kind, his face devoid of emotion. After the greeting, you proceed to the sitting room. Elborn is the first to enter. He kisses mother's hand and Gloria's too, and tussles Nathan's hair after he sees him hiding by the table. Grandfather acknowledges them with a glum nod. Greetings, Lydia Brant. I remember you were kind to me when I was but a child. And you must be Nathan. You could barely walk when I saw you last. Your elder brother ignores Gloria completely. Not even a greeting. You proceed to the dining room in a dignified manner and take your seats. The dishes smell delicious, but they merely punctuate the overwhelming tension at the family table. Elborn is the only one with a friendly smile on his face. The dinner is splendid, Lydia. Did you choose the dishes yourself? You have a truly refined palate. It warms my heart to know Stephen spent his early years with you. Womanly care always does a child good, no matter the estate. Your fork freezes in the air halfway to your mouth. You expect many things from a noble of the sword, but words of praise for a low-born woman are not one of them. You cast a glance at grandfather. He looks like he is about to choke on those words. I hope he does. It would do my grandson more good to stay at boarding school among his equals. Please, Gregor. Parenting is no less important. Nothing can replace a mother's love, I cannot deny it. It saddens me greatly that my late sister could not be there to raise Stephen. But there was still a family for him, and he was surrounded by love. How could that be bad? And besides, his father was by his side all the while. A father's example is always the best. After all, Robert earned the judge's rank the same way you did. Your grandson will surely follow in your footsteps. And who knows, perhaps even the younger men of the Brant family will contribute to the You clumsy low-born cretin! Everyone is startled by this sudden outburst. Grandfather's face turns red. He is glaring at a young lady servant, holding a pitcher over a glass. Stephen is sitting right next to her, dabbing a napkin on a fresh stain on his jacket. Begone this instant! The lady servant runs away, leaving the pitcher on a small table by the door. After a quiet moment, Elborn smiles again. It appears the servants have left us, yet dinner is far from over. Worry not, uncle, there are enough commoners at this table to keep us served with food and drink. Stephen glares at Gloria across the table. She's sitting right next to you. She shrinks down and hunches over under his gaze. Father furrows his brows. Mother covers her mouth with trembling hands. Grandfather sneers. Stephen's gaze does not move. The silence lasts far too long. Then she starts to rise from her chair.
If the Brant gentlemen so wish it.
Your hands clench into fists under the table. How can he bring himself to humiliate his own family, his own mother and sister like this? It is all grandfather's doing. Stephen could not even bring himself to embrace father without his permission. And yet they are noblemen, and they have the right to act this way. If there is any way this dinner can become even more unbearable, you do not want to see it. What do I do here? Do I insult Stephen? You step out of line and insult Stephen. Do I make small talk and pretend that nothing's going on? Or do I help Gloria? Now, I quite like Elborn. I want to impress him, so I don't want to create a scene and insult him. I will join Gloria. I'm a hard worker, that's right. You deliberate for a moment, then take the napkin off your lap and rise to join Gloria. A moment later, you hear the sound of another chair moving. Your mother joins you. The three of you now refill glasses, serve food, and clear away dirty dishes. Sir Elborn tries to make small talk with father, but in vain, so he focuses his attention on grandfather and Stephen. Grandfather is pleased to inform him of Stephen's achievements at the boarding school, especially his exemplary sword-fighting skills. I bet I could take him. He constantly stresses the importance of your elder brother for the future of the family. You listen to him dispassionately as you continue serving new dishes to the table. As you wait at the nobleman's table, you, your sister, and mother never bump into each other. Your labor is impeccable. Grandfather could not have found fault with it, even if he tried. Your shoulders and back are aching, but being a manservant inside your own house hurts even more. When the guests finally leave, Mother and Gloria embrace you with relief. You did not neglect your relatives and shared their humiliation, and the composure that you have shown gave you new strength. That's right. The year is 1129, and Hi, I'm 11. A dropped handkerchief. Hot, dry winds sweep through the city from the barren lands around it. The noble residents of Anazotti prefer to remain in their chambers, while the commoners huddle in tents or in the shade of the silver tree. You are on an errand right now. Your father wrote a letter to a noble acquaintance, and you are to deliver it. Tomas, the boy down the street, is tagging along. The two of you are inseparable now. The errand is an easy one, so you decide to take this opportunity to loiter around the part of Anazotti where the nobles live. So here you are, in the middle of the city square, resting on the ancient brickwork by the old fountain in the merciful shade of the gargantuan silver tree. Tomas is by your side, lazily slouching on the edge of the fountain's basin. It's a hard life for commoners like you and me. Either you break your back in a workshop day and night, hoping someone will buy your goods someday, or you become a manservant to some noble. You never get a chance to enjoy life. If anyone's voices are changing, it's because they're getting older. That's why, not because I can't remember what voice I've done. This is our lot, you remind him. We work and endure and suffer. But Tomas waves your words away. Yeah, I know all that already. Mother keeps drilling that stuff into me. We must be humble. Our strength is patience and persistence. So yeah, I say, but I want to make my fortune no matter what. So how ain't that living by my lot, I ask you? But the lots, they ain't easy. Let's take you, for example. Brant, your father's a nobleman. But even if that didn't make you one, just look at your hands. You never had to work as hard as me, but we have the same lot, so we're supposed to suffer the same. Or look at your father. He's a judge. He toils at the prefecture day and night doing his judging, and he's a noble. I've never seen an Arknian work as hard as he does. You shrug. The Arknians are a different race. The books say they were born to rule over humans. They are never commoners, always nobles of the sword by birth. They founded the empire after subduing all the human kingdoms on the continent. Humans will never be their equals. Arknians are always better, smarter, stronger, and their skin is a noble shade of blue. If the books are to be believed, of course. You have never seen one yourself. Your idle chatter is suddenly interrupted by a rugged-looking guardsman dressed in black and green. He chases you away from the fountain. Common rabble like you have no place here. You hear the clattering of hooves and wheels against the cobblestones and see flags bearing a coat of arms, a sable serpent on the field of vert. It makes you squirm. It is the Archduke's coat of arms. The Milandinus dynasty. The carriage door opens, revealing a young lady in a luxurious dress. You cannot look away from her. Those dainty shoulders suggested, but not revealed by the cut of her dress. Her black hair cascading over them. Her stately slim silhouette. Her pouty lips and prim nose. And those eyes, dark like the night sky. The way she moves, fluidly, gracefully, and most incredible of all, her skin glows an azure blue. She is a masterpiece given life. She is an Arknian.
Clear the way for me.
The Milanidus guardsmen work quickly to clear the way to the fountain for the Arknian lady. The searing sun dances on her skin in bizarre patterns. With one elegant motion, she reveals a handkerchief, then leans over the basin and wipes her head and neck with its cool water. Well, I'll be! That's Octavia Milanidus, our Archduke's own daughter! The Arknian turns away and proceeds gracefully back to her carriage. You see something slip out of her hand and fall on the cobblestones right next to you. Her handkerchief. It is right there by your feet. Intricate craftsmanship, expensive woven fabric, delicately decorated with emerald filigree. Your heart skips a beat. Will you dare draw the beautiful Arknian's attention in order to return her lost possession? Or would you rather not attempt to cross the chasm between you and her? Do I keep it? Do I stash the trophy? Planning to sell it later? Do I balls? I'm gonna give it to her. Ha 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 ha! That's right, give it to her! It takes a moment to overcome your fear. You follow the young lady Milanidus and call out to her in a nervous voice. She turns around, her beautiful face marred by a puzzled expression. You extend the dropped handkerchief towards her. Lady Octavia's face contorts into a sneer. She signs to the guardsman indifferently. The bitch. A guardsman's gauntlet-clad hand slaps you in the face. It rings your head like a heavy bell. Your nose cracks obediently under this staggering force. The rest of you follow suit, and you fall prone. You can discern the guardsman's voice through the painful din in your ears. Shall I take the handkerchief back, lady?
After a commoner's hands have befouled it, let him wipe himself with it for all I care.
I'll wipe my goddamn with it. The carriage drives away. Tomas runs up to you and drags you back to the fountain. Your head is still ringing from the blow. The fateful handkerchief is still crumpled in your hand. But she will remember me. Too damn right she will. Ooh, matters of the heart. Meet a girl. I thought my first romantic feelings were for Sophia. Interesting. Okay, carry on. The year is 1130. I am 12. The Quorum Decree. 12 years old now, you overhear an important conversation. It is a spring night, and Mother has just sent everyone to bed. You walk past Father's study and hear voices coming from beyond the door. Grandfather is yelling, and Father is replying quietly. The elder Brantmen are fighting, arguing about the place of the commoners in the city. You sneak outside to avoid Mother's attention and hide next to the open window of the study. Perhaps they'll mention you, too. That low-life idiot had the gall to pay me a visit and beg me for some service. He had the insolence to ask me outright. He thought I was going to support his claim for the German seat in the Lesser Quorum. How dare he? Father, please listen. Mayor Egmont may be low-born, but he carries a lot of clout in Magra. He owns 5 iron mines. A friend like him could be quite useful, should he become the chairman of the Lesser Quorum. I don't give a damn who this Egmont is, Robert. What he is, however, is low-born. His lot is humility and obedience. The likes of him can never rule anything. They're nothing but a flock of sheep that need a firm, noble hand to guide them. I wasted so many years trying to quash that Quorum Decree, but that accursed Cornelius Tempest did everything in his power to make the Emperor sign that pathetic screed. Now, even lowlives can wield power. True power, Robert! Just the right to discuss the size of the Archduke's tax, nothing more. That is only the beginning. What's next? Are they going to arm the lowlives now? Make them into judges? If the Empire rejects the foundations and the lots, the entire edifice will crumble. Bah! Who am I telling this to? It is already crumbling, and you, my son and heir, are an harbinger of its destruction. Father, I'm begging you, I do not wish to marry a third time. Lydia is a good wife and a dutiful mother to my children. If you would only allow her to, I will allow them nothing. Neither Egmont nor that freeloading wench of yours. What will you want me to do next? Live by the laws of the lowborn? I can already see where this is going, and I'd rather run my own sword through my guts than live in a country where nobles and lowlives share the same rights. My only dream is to see the name Brante in the Blue Book, but that dream will never come true. They will never call me Venerable L. Brant, and it's all because of this marriage of yours. My only hope now is to hear Stephan addressed in such a manner one day. Thank the twins I didn't let you ruin the boy. He is about to grow up a true nobleman. His children will bear the name of L. Brant. You have 2 more grandsons. Those spineless milksops from the common lot. They're incapable of anything. The best your middle son could do is sneak through the Imperial College and get ennobled by the mantle, although I have grave doubts about even that. As for the downtrodden Nathan, I hold out no hope for him whatsoever. At least he holds out a little hope for me. You hear grandfather's heavy footsteps, the thudding of his cane, and the slamming of the door. It's time to sneak back home before you're discovered. School begins. You started studying at the school of Sir Tibor and begin to master the sciences. A storm of expectations. Finally, the day comes when the teachers stop coming to the house. But before you can breathe a sigh of relief and put away the books, Father asks you to come to his study. You've grown, my son. It's time for you to continue your education away from home. I've chosen a deserving school for you, Sir Tibor's School for the children of noblemen and well-off commoners. Naturally, it is not a boarding school for nobles, so you will study there during the day and come home in the evening. You share the news with your best friend, Thomas. Sir Tibor's School, eh? Yeah, I gotta ask my parents to send me there too as soon as they get the coin together. Father says his workshop has toiled day and night for years to save up for my education. The school is based in an ancient estate of Arcadian design. The classrooms are tall and spacious with massive benches. The sounds of scraping quills and lectures on history and imperial law and theology echo under the vaulted ceilings. The rules are strict, the lessons tiring. Restless Thomas keeps getting distracted, and several times he gets his hand slapped with a stick for it. Every teacher demands flawless mastery of their subject. Every day, Father asks you about your studies. You have already told him twice how Magra joined the Empire, and how the Nobles' Court of Honor is different from the Commoners' Civil Court in the city prefecture, but Father keeps pressuring you to work even harder. When it is time to go to bed, Mother will not let you go to sleep until you recite a newly learned prayer for her. And when it is time to go to school, you promise her every day that you will behave with great humility and steer clear of insolent behavior of any kind, for you still live by the commoner's lot, and that lot is hard work and suffering. Your first month in school draws to a close, and the teachers announce that there will be exams at the end of the month to determine the best and the worst students in each subject. Father insists that you devote all your spare time to studying law and history if you wish to follow in his footsteps. But when you speak to Mother every day, you start considering theology. You still remember the revelations and divine visions that came to you in your earliest years. You have only one more day until the exam. You have locked yourself away in your room. It is already getting late. Your desk is covered with handwritten notes, surrounded by leather-bound books. Just looking at them makes you queasy, but you have to read through all of them again, at least for one of your subjects. There is a nagging thought on your mind. Thomas ended up in big trouble the other day. He got in a fight with several boys who lived next street. They heard about your wooden fortress and got in an outrage by the fortification built by commoners. They swore to dismantle it tonight. Thomas swore he would defend the fortress to the end. Perhaps you should abandon the books to rescue the friend in need. But then you hear your little brother Nathan knocking at the door. He stands there shyly, not saying a word. He often does that, standing still and staying speechless until either of you speak first or he runs away. But this time, he actually says something.
The door is locked. Are you okay, Hood? Is there anything I can do to help?
Your head is spinning. This is the last evening before school exam. If you fail, your family will be very disappointed. You will have to refresh your memory on law or theology, either one or the other. But Thomas and your fort are about to be stormed. Why today of all days? You grind your teeth in rage at the thought. Nathan is by the door, trying not to bother you. He wants to help you the only way he can, for reasons known only to him. Will you accept his help? Help me with what? I need to study, man. Right, let's think this through. Theology can right off. Thomas, no, it's a wooden fort, man. How old are we now? We're 12. Let's burn the thing down ourselves and move on. Nathan, what do you want to help me with, man? I need to focus on law and history. Leave me alone. You push Nathan out of the room. He cannot possibly help you prepare for the exam. Soon your eyes start to hurt from all the legal terms and chronologies and titles of imperial edicts. You repeat everything, every single line of it, until your head hurts and your vision begins to blur. When Father walks in, he chuckles in approval. You fall asleep right there amidst the books. The morning comes. You barely have the time to wake up before you are walking to the menacing edifice of the school. Time for law. All the students sit still, glued to their benches in terror. The teacher's voice singles you out. If a commoner insults a nobleman's honor, how ought it be dealt with according to imperial law? Bring the commoner to the prefecture where the judge will sentence him to corporal punishment. And what if the noble takes a commoner's life by negligence or whim? The noble is fined by the provincial authorities. Surprising even yourself, you give the correct answers to these questions, and the many more that follow. The next subject is the history of the blessed Arcadian Empire. You masterfully recount the history of every province as they merged with the empire, from Monia to Magra. Then you recite the names of every tempest who has ruled the empire. You conquer every question the teacher asks you without confusing a single date. You get the highest grade in law and history and an average grade in theology. You relay the teacher's praise to Father over dinner. He smiles, pleased with you.
Well done, my son. I can see how hard you have been working. Keep at it, and you will be among the Empire's greatest servants. I am proud of you.
Thanks, Dad. Means a lot. Noble titles. Your education continues. As you study imperial law, you come to realize there is a certain hierarchy even within the noble estate. It seems your father's status is not quite equal to that of more eminent human and Arcadian gentry. You return home with this new information at your disposal. Father asks you about school after dinner, as he always does.
And what is the difference between nobles of the mantle and those of the sword, Hood?
You already have an answer ready. The latter status is hereditary, meaning that it is passed down from father to son. After the Arcadians, nobles of the sword are the most eminent humans in the empire. They own land and estates, they fill offices of the highest ranks, and the names of their bloodlines are preserved within the Great Blue Book. Nobility of the sword can only be granted by the overseer of the province or the emperor himself.
And how are such eminent people addressed?
With the honorific L before their last name, you respond. Sir Augustin L. Bourne, for example. Father pats you on the shoulder, clearly pleased. And what about Orkneys and their status? What have you learned about them? The Orkneys stand above all human gentry. They are born to rule over humans regardless of their titles. No L is required when addressing them. They need no honorifics, for the names of their ancient dynasties are known to all. Father nods somberly. Yes, we can never be their equals. Do whatever an Orkney tells you, and never defy them. Ever. And what about grandfather and me? Where do we stand as nobles? That is easy. Father and grandfather are nobles of the mantle. This title cannot be inherited, but it can be earned by any commoner as a reward for great service to the Empire in the Legion or as a civil servant. Father grows suddenly quiet and looks you in the eye intently. Yes, and someday you will earn a noble title too, son. All in due time. Sons of the nobility. Sir Tibor's school teaches children of all stripes. Nobles of the mantle and low-born parents can send their sons here, and every passing day the children of noblemen invent new ways to snub and bully the commoners. Most of the time the bully leading them is Diederik, the son of the secretary for the important chancellery and a self-important slob. The sons of noblemen never pick on you, however. They know that your father has been ennobled by the mantle. However, Diederik and his retinue soon choose Thomas as their favourite victim. Time and time again you ask your friend not to pay them any mind, but again and again Thomas grows angry and snaps at their self-satisfied mockery. It is early morning, the students are busy flocking to the classroom for their next lesson. You wave Thomas over when you see him. He waves back at you, and then a bucketful of slop splashes on him. Needless to say, it is the work of Diederik and his entourage. You hear his familiar creaky laughter. The tailor's son stinks! How dare he sit next to decent folk? Thomas clenches his fists. You're dead, Diederik! He throws himself at Diederik's haughty entourage like a soldier ready to wage war. He attacks them first. This is just what they expected, and they are free to retaliate. He barely makes one movement before 4 pairs of hands grab him at once. Diederik sneers and kicks your friend in the belly. Thomas gasps for air and starts coughing. You stand between them as Diederik readies another kick. The nobleman's son cocks an eyebrow. Why do you mingle with commoners, he asks. Your father is a noble of the mantle. You ought to be friends with your own kind, your equals, not the dirt beneath your feet. Behind him, 4 boys hold Thomas down as he struggles furiously. The other students are watching you, frozen in fear. Diederik haughtily extends a hand to you. He clearly expects you to shake it. Why? Guy's a dick. Cannot challenge someone to combat. I cannot turn him over to the teachers. There is no point in me admonishing the nobleman's sons. But if I shake his hand, will Thomas get the wrong idea? Yes, he will. Look at that. I'm gonna shake his hand. Let's see if we can make friends, and that way stop him from picking on my other friends. Or will he be a dick to me and then do this? Blah, 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 blah. Diederik, Thomas, and the entire school sees you shake his hand. There is truth in what he said. You are born children of nobles. Being friends with your peers is good for the family and your father's standing. The secretary's son's hand is cold and moist. Thomas winces when he sees you shake the boy's hand. A satisfied smile appears on Diederik's face. Now that he has finally gotten what he wanted, he signals to his friends to let Thomas go. Thomas gets back to his feet, looks you straight in the eye, and shakes his head in disappointment. I didn't ask you about that hood. Why you... What? Thomas avoids you for the rest of the day. When the lessons end, he quickly packs up and leaves without you. You spend the evening with Diederik and his retinue. As it turns out, the children of noblemen aren't so bad when you get to know them. They are simply afraid for their status and eager to avoid being mixed up with the low-born boys. Not Diederik himself, however. His stupidity and bravado are astonishing. He clearly became their leader through sheer audacity and overconfidence. However, you always remember exactly why you need his friendship. Several days pass, and then Diederik invites you to his family's house. You inform father of the invitation. You have made friends with the city hall secretary's son? This may bode well for our family. Well done. I will accompany you there. Don't show me up, Dad. Both of you travel to the city hall district when the time comes. The secretary's house is larger and more luxuriously decorated than your family's. There is even a garden in front of it, planted in imported soil. Diederik pompously introduces you to his father, a balding, aloof-looking nobleman. The 2 fathers sip wine until the sun goes down, discussing Anazotti affairs such as the Quorum Decree, the Lesser Quorums, the policies of Archduke Milanides, and the new agenda set by Prefect L. Bourne. Father doesn't forget to mention that he is related to the prefect. The 2 fathers part on good terms. They agree to invite each other to dinners and aid each other in work-related matters. You take the carriage back home. Father tussles your hair, tipsily. This is a very good connection for our family. I'll tell your grandfather how you helped me set it up. You did very well, Ud. Sir Gregor will certainly appreciate this. Will he now? In turn, you share a thought that has been weighing heavily on you. In order to make this acquaintance, you had to ignore your best friend Tomas for the better part of a week. What should you do now? Maybe you should apologize to him first. If you are truly good friends, your friendship will survive this trial. It's good advice, Dad. The next day, you catch up to Thomas after school. Naturally, he would rather hurry ahead instead of talking to you. You have to keep up with him while talking, which is quite difficult. There's no reason to be angry anymore, you plead with Thomas. Those noblemen's sons have settled down. They'll never bully him again. You tell him how your father turned this fleeting acquaintance into a useful connection. You reassure Tomas that he will always be your friend, not Diederik. He's nasty and stupid and only wants the other boys to praise him. Tomas stops when he hears you say that. He turns to you, the familiar smile beaming on his face once again. Now that's interesting, Brant. So you've learned his weak spots, eh? Keep talking and I'll see if I should forgive you. You tell Tomas all about the week you spent with Diederik. Soon the two of you are making up new names for the bullies based on what you have learned, laughing together again. His resentment soon disappears and he stops avoiding you. This has left a mark on your relationship, but you remain friends. It is 11:31 and I am 13. The Silver Tree. Your theology teachers tell you more about Anazotti. It is more than just a provincial capital. It is also a sacred place blessed by the gods. It is where the twin gods' first disciples spilled their blood, and from that blood grew the sacred silver tree. Its enormous foliage hangs over the city. You see its branches in the sky every day, but you never approach the trunk of the tree yourself. Today you'll be taking your first trip to the silver tree. Your class is visiting a service in the great temple by the tree's very roots. Thanks to your theology teacher, you and the other students will witness this landmark of the twins' advent up close. Everybody is excited. Soon you and the other boys enter the slums surrounding the church district of Anazotti. The roots are pulsating under your feet. They spread underground all throughout the area. Pathetic, cramped hovels and filthy streets surround the trunk of the tree. They are home to paupers, day labourers, and preachers. The people of the district bow humbly to you and point you towards the temple. They seem at peace, despite the abject poverty in which they live. All who live directly beneath the tree are filled with its divine grace, your teacher says. People come here to make peace with the world and their fate in it. Your class is unusually quiet. Everyone is listening to the rustling of the leaves and the underground beating of the roots. The sky above you is obscured by the tree's canopy. You find the temple of the twin gods right next to the tremendous trunk of the tree. It almost seems a part of it. There is a crowd there. Pilgrims dressed in travelling clothes, paupers and beggars, common people of the city, and the occasional well-dressed noble. There are arguments among some people who are gathered in small groups. Many people are wandering around, staring upward at the tree's branches. The tree impresses you with its might and the calm emanating from it. You are filled with a desire to sit down and think of the world, to learn something about yourself, to touch the silver-white bark and hearken to the whispering leaves. You are distracted enough to fall back from the rest of your classmates. You notice a small path. It should take you right next to the trunk. A tall, red-haired woman walks out of the crowd of pilgrims. She is wearing a worn white robe. She is no longer young, but her face is youthful and covered in freckles. Her hands clutch a book. You have never seen this lady pilgrim before, yet she looks at you, almost as if she has recognized a lifelong friend. She beckons to you and says her name, Matilda, a preacher from Astinia. What she says next shakes you to your very core.
It is commendable to see a young man so keen to learn the teachings of the twins,
she says.
Yet you will never follow the light of truth within the walls of the temple. Inside you will find only lies about the lots, the erring words of the prophet Satius, sanctified by the passage of centuries. Yet anyone who sets out to read the accounts of the twins' own lives, no, they never said so much mentioned the lots.
The red-haired preacher's words frighten you. They clash with everything you have heard from Mother, everything you have been taught at school. The lots are a lie? You freeze in fear. Should you agree with Matilda, or ask her for more information? Or should you treat her as a madwoman and catch up with your classmates? You suddenly feel a small, warm hand grasp your own. You see a girl right next to you. She is a little older than you, wearing a black dress, threadbare yet almost spotless. Her hair is covered by a handkerchief, with only a single golden lock showing. Her brown eyes are burning with rage, her hand pulling you away from the red-haired preacher. You stare in confusion at this strange young girl, your cheeks flushed by the sudden touch. There is just a bit of colour on her cheeks too, but then she starts speaking to you quickly.
Don't listen to her! She's dangerous! Come to the temple with me! Only there will you see the truth!
You stand there, surrounded by the crowd of praying pilgrims, and the sounds of shuffling feet torn between the two people you have never seen before, and each of them expects you to follow her. But all the while you hear the whispering of the wind in the tree's branches. The branches reach out for you, almost as if the tree wishes to speak to itself. Can you hear its voice? I cannot give in to the epiphany. I do not have the right insight. Leave them and approach the tree? Stay with the red-haired pilgrim? Or follow the girl into the temple? Ooh, I want to know more about this. You shrug, smile sheepishly at the girl, and walk towards the red-haired preacher. This Matilda of Astania. She speaks too strangely to be ignored. You feel she will be leaving soon anyway. And the temple? Surely the temple is not going anywhere. The lady preacher hands her book to you. There are words on the cover. The lives of the twins. The book is so heavy you almost drop it. The crowd around you barely allows for a proper reading. The best you can do is flip through the pages and hope to glimpse a message or two from it. Matilda's hushed voice comments on each new page. The book was written by the disciples of the twins. When the twin gods descended and brought faith with them into the world, they walked the lands with them. It is filled with many stories of wonders and battles, as well as records of the twins' own sermons and dialogues. They discuss many things that now guide the living, the fate that awaits us on the shining pillar, the eternal life after true death, the profane evil of magic. Yet Matilda points out to something that you cannot help but notice yourself. There is not one mention of the lots in this book. How can this be? You ask her.
It is what it is, she responds. The twins never spoke of them. They never left any teaching behind. Nothing but their deeds and their own lives in this world.
You frown. Then how can we know about the lots now?
They exist thanks to Isatius, she says. Isatius, favoured by the gods, the elder's favoured disciple, walked the lands by his side, and through all his hardships until his fatal end in Eterna, they came to be, she explains. When people came to Isatius and asked him how they should live. Yet Isatius was but a man, and his teachings of the lots were not a divine revelation, but a speculation of his own devising.
This feels much tougher than learning prayers. So if the teachings of the lots come not from the gods, but rather from their student, what does that mean for you? What does that mean for the people?
A new faith,
the red-haired preacher says with a smile. You think about her words for a long time as the silver tree whispers above your head, the very tree grown from the blood of the people who walked the land with the younger and the elder. You keep on thinking about it, even as you make your way home and into bed. Your conclusions bring you no comfort. If that strange lady preacher was right, then you are supposed to be free to interpret the twins' words yourself, which means that you and only you should be responsible for your life and the fate in the hereafter. But who can tell for sure? You cannot fall asleep that night. So, they were lying to you all this time. In the morning, you still mutter off a prayer in the words of your lot, to work, endure, and suffer. But is it all worth it if the lots don't really exist? Or is this the will of the lots? Did they actually speak through the will, through Isatius, and those who defy the will are defying the true orders of the world? These questions will remain in your mind for a long time. The shadow of the past. Another school day has ended. You are making your way home, still mulling over the things you learned from your teachers. The founding of the empire, the eternal and unshakable rule of a single dynasty, the 3 estates, each with its own rights. What an odd sort of order the world has, and yet so mysterious. At least it sounds that way when your teachers talk about it. Mother is waiting for you on the porch. She smiles gently when she sees you, and yet her expression shows great concern. Father left on a trip to several distant migrant towns a few days ago. Since then, Mother has been trying to tell you something, but she seems uncertain.
Son, could you put your things away and come pray with me?
I hate praying. You join Mother in a prayer to the twins. She prays with fervent sincerity, her head bowed low, reciting the words of obedience to them and their greater design in a barely audible whisper. You repeat after her, just as she has taught you ever since you were a little boy. When the prayer ends, Mother sighs and turns to you.
Hood, my son, you are 13 now. You'll be grown soon. It's time you learned about certain things that are important to our family. Difficult things. It's about your father and me, and about our marriage.
You gaze curiously into Mother's eyes.
I'm sure you've wondered about this before. Your father is a nobleman of the mantle, so how could he marry a commoner with another man's child? But you see, Hood, your father, when his first wife, Amalia Elborn, died, it was a painful blow to him. He lost the will to live, Lost all purpose, he felt like his own destiny was cut short that day as well. And then he met me. You know the troubles I had in the past. I went to the prefecture as a petitioner to ask them for help, protection, justice. When I was a young girl, I worked at a small shop that sold crockery and dishes. A nobleman took a liking to me. May his name be forever forgotten. The twins know I was humble and honoured his lot to rule. But he took me by force.
Mother falls silent, summoning the courage to continue.
Gloria is that nobleman's daughter, but he was outraged. How could I have the gall to burden him with low-born progeny? He turned me out on the street with that little baby girl in my arms.
Mother's voice is shaking now. You take her hand, tenderly.
I had no home, no honour, nowhere to go, no one to help me. When I went to the prefecture, I really didn't think the judges there would help me find justice against my former master. But when Sir Robert heard my plea, his eyes met mine, and I believe that, at that very moment, the twins themselves granted him their gift of their love. Your father told me there was nothing he could do to make that detestable nobleman marry me, but he would never abandon me and baby Gloria, and if I agreed, he would take me into his own home.
Tears are running down Mother's cheeks.
And I knew it, my son. I knew how much his honour and reputation would suffer, but caring for me brought him back to life. It's like he experienced another sacrament. He rediscovered his noble purpose, his lot to rule and protect and care for others. But his decision to marry me, he is still paying for it today. Your father had the courage to defy your grandfather, the founder of his bloodline. If only you knew how much he had to endure, my son. If only you knew the despicable rumours we heard about the Brants all over Anazotti. It's only thanks to the efforts of Sir Gregor that the Brant bloodline managed to hang on to what little remained of its reputation. And now the noble families have all but forgotten about that scandal. Thank the twins.
Mother falls silent. She looks at you intently. Do you understand what she is telling you? Stop talking to me, Mother! Your voice is driving me crazy.
My son, I'm not telling you this just to share the pain of my past. I have no reason to complain. Even Sir Gregor has accepted me through gritted teeth. But you need to understand the heavy burden our family must bear, including our scandalous marriage and Gloria's foul origin. And Gloria, she can never be a Brant. Even if the elder Brants agreed, the news would stir up the old scandal in the minds of high society. And if that were to happen, Hood, they would see even your birth as illegitimate.
Mother sighs heavily.
What I have told you just now is something you have to know, son. You are about to enter adult life. By my lot, I must be humble. I cannot tell you how to treat your family. But may I ask you a question? Now that you know all of this, do you still see Gloria as your sister?
Of course I do. Nothing's changed. Filled with determination, you assure Mother that Gloria is and will always be your sister. You want Gloria to be a Brant too. You want her to be part of your family. Who cares what the nobles of Anazotti say? Mother beams with quiet joy when she hears this.
Oh, Hood, if only you knew how happy that would make me to have our family united at last.
However, the joy on her face quickly gives way to concern.
But I already owe Sir Robert a debt I can never repay. He's given my daughter so much. A home, an education, his care and advice. The Brant bloodline could suffer so much from Gloria's existence. We should all just learn to accept her status as it is.
Just then you hear Gloria carefully knock at the door of Mother's chambers. Mother! No!
Mother! Hood! I couldn't find you!
You happily greet your sister. Yes, she is your sister. No old secrets can ever change that. Mother gives you and Gloria a kiss on the forehead and returns to her prayers. You and your sister walk downstairs together. Mother is alone by her bedside now, thanking the twins with a quiet prayer for the Brant family they have given her. You hope they can hear her. The flash and the flame. You are 13 now. Another theology lesson. Today's sermon is all about the priests and why the clergy is the only one of the 3 estates with the right to interpret the lots and guide the other 2 estates accordingly. Thomas sits next to you, huffing and puffing as he fervently writes down the teacher's every word. But you've heard all this from Mother many times before, so you take this moment to daydream a little. Father promised to take you to the capital once your studies are complete, but the teacher suddenly casts a stern look around the lecture hall and raises his voice at one of your classmates. A boy by the name of Brian jumps out of his seat. The teacher asks him to repeat what he had just said. Brian freezes and seems to shrink. He tries to muster a reply, but nothing comes out. The class becomes agitated. Someone is about to get punished. The teacher now looms over Brian. The boy's cheeks are flushed and his eyes covered in tears. You all watch the teacher's iron-bound book as he raises it sharply, about to strike. Brian shrieks and raises a hand in front of him. A sudden flash. The teacher screams and buries his face in his arms. His hair is ablaze and his skin is covered in horrible burns. It's magic! Real magic, just like in the books about the Magra Rebellion. The class freezes in shock. There is a dull thud as the iron-bound book falls to the floor. Brian's hysterical laughter rends the silence. He stands up from the bench, fire in his eyes and sparks at his fingertips. There are screams now. Students run for the door. The teacher tries to extinguish his burning hair. Brian snaps his fingers and the book of Isatius on the desk turn into pillars of flames. He laughs and raises his arms, and the curtains catch fire. The screams grow louder as the fire howls. Brian's face is tense and violent. His mouth is spewing flames and his whole body is shaking with laughter. He steps towards the door. You and Tomas glance at each other. Is this thing happening? He's gonna burn the whole school down. Your friend's determination makes you brave. You run behind Brian and knock him off his feet. You both tumble to the floor, even through his clothes. His body sears your flesh. I'm gonna die again. Brian screams, convulses, and grabs Tomas by the shoulders with his burning hands. Tomas howls but stays put, then knocks Brian senseless with several fierce blows to the head. There are servants fussing around the room now. They put out the fire and take away the teacher, his body covered in horrible burns. You and Tomas remain next to Brian, who is lying on the floor, silent. Soon 3 men in black cloaks enter the doors of the school, each bearing an edict sealed with silver. The Inquisition! You and Tomas are told to step away from the witch. They lock Brian's neck in a silver collar and take him away. One of the Inquisitors remains behind to tell the students what happened. That was magic, he explains. The ungodly power that twists the minds of men into savage instruments of murder. Only the sacred shackles of silver can hold it at bay. Only the power of the twins can save us all from its evil grasp. The next day you're forbidden from ever mentioning Brian's name again. He is no more. The nobleman's lot. A great day looms ahead. 100 years ago, Uther Tempest was anointed to rule over the empire. Blessed by the twins themselves, the emperor's reign continues into its 2nd century. Celebrations in honor of the Tempest dynasty are held throughout the city, and the school is closed for 2 weeks because of that. Thank for that. I need a break from that crazy place. On one of these evenings, Father tells everyone that Grandfather is going to bring Stephan back home from the holiday. God damn it. They say families should celebrate the day of anointment together. You could benefit from your elder brother's company with his noble education. Stephan might be able to tell you how noblemen are supposed to act. He's not going to do that, is he? He's a dick. Soon, Stephan arrives. He now handles himself differently. When it comes to ordering servants around and ignoring Gloria, he is still Grandfather's double, but he is grown up now and far less haughty to you. It is a dark winter evening. A damp, cold wind sweeps through the city from the barren lands of Magra. You and Stephan are sitting in the library. He is telling you all about Eterna, the capital of the empire. It is a place full of so many wonders. The Imperial Palace, the enormous Temple of the Twins, the Military Academy, the Imperial College. You have read so much about these places, yet he has seen them firsthand. Nathan enters the library. He looks concerned.
I can't find Gloria. I looked everywhere. She's not in the attic. She's not in the sitting room. She's not in the kitchen. I heard she wanted to sneak off to the ruins of Charmilandinus' palace. She could be lost in there.
You and Stephan exchange looks. Charmilandinus, the rebellious duke. The ruins of his palace are a dangerous place. Some children claim his tainted magic still lingers there, which means you absolutely have to make your way there and back again to prove you are not afraid of the long-dead witch. Your brother tells you to wait. He leaves and soon returns with his sword in its sheath. Get ready, Hood! We're gonna rescue Gloria! She must have gone into the ruins in search of inspiration for another one of her little rhymes. The 2 of you instruct Nathan to tell your parents you've gone for a walk in the square. You and your elder brother head outside. You're confused by Stephan's actions. He refuses to treat Gloria like a human being, so why is he still so determined to rescue her? Stephan notices your expression. Are you suddenly wondering why I care about Gloria all of a sudden? I can't act in any other way, can I? The law of honor compels me to protect my family. Gloria will never be a Brante, but Father still took her into our house. I must respect his seniority and defend Gloria like she is one of our own. You are a Brante too, noble or not, which means it is your duty to aid me. The ruins of Charmilandinus' palace span an entire district. The palace was abandoned centuries ago, and its remnants are overgrown with thick underbrush. The ruined palace is empty, nothing but cold wind blowing over crumbling brickwork. Even the worst scum of the land steer clear of this place. You make your way through the ruins until you spot scattered sheets of paper covered in writing. Your sister's writing. You hear loud laughter coming from behind a dilapidated stone wall nearby. You pull yourself up to peer over it. Gloria is lying on the ground face down, twitching and sobbing. A gaggle of drunk young thugs surround her, cackling and swinging their arms about. You hear their shouts. Look at the lass sitting here rhyming words together. She thinks she's all noble, but don't you worry, you low-born tart. We're gonna teach you your place. One of the lads spits at Gloria. She lies there. Get away from her this instant, you bastards, or I'll spill your guts. They respond with mocking laughter. Stephan draws his sword. Stephan's not around. The street thugs recoil in fear, but they soon notice that he is only one-armed man against many. They start reaching out for sticks and stones. Stay by my side! Don't let them flank me! Stephen's hand shakes, but he looks ready for battle. He is outnumbered. For a moment, you hesitate. Perhaps it might be better to run to the nearby district and call for guards. The young thugs are already armed with makeshift weapons. They start approaching you and Stephen cautiously. Follow your brother's orders! We're in this together. Stephen's firm voice fills you with confidence. You follow your noble brother's orders. It takes a moment to grab a stick, and then you are at Stephen's back, angrily swinging at the louts as they try to bring him down. One of the louts lunges at your brother with a stone, but you hit him with a stick, and he falls down right at Stephen's feet. His sword flashes. The blade sinks deep into the young man's stomach. He wheezes. Blood starts pouring out onto the ground. The thugs freeze. Stephen pulls the sword out, his face an inscrutable mask, and returns to his fighting stance. You are stunned to see Stephen take another man's life so easily and effortlessly, like picking his own teeth. The thugs look like they are about to flee. There is rage and confusion on their faces. They never expected the young nobleman to use that sword. Stephen just scoffs at them. Lowborn scum, that's all you are. This is the only language you understand. Good job, brother. Gloria, get up. We're going home. He turns to glance at your sister, giving the enraged thugs just enough time to rush you. You get separated from Stephen. Your back is against the wall now. They hit you hard in the stomach, then the face, then the side of the head, then your mind slips away. When the darkness disperses, you find yourself lying in your bed. Stephen is in the armchair next to you, reading a book. He is alive, with left arm in a sling and a black eye, but still alive. Your head is spinning, and you feel nauseous. You try your best to sit up. Stephen looks up from the book. Don't try to get up. You lost a lot of blood. I suppose that was a few thugs too many for a single warrior, even with good backup. I'm impressed. We fought like an army. The noble's orders. The commoner obeys. All according to our lots. We defended the family's honor together. You know, brother, the nobleman's lot is also a great burden that few are able to bear. It takes courage not to fight everything you see, but to do your duty. Each and every decision a nobleman makes becomes a part of his family's legacy, flowing in the blood tide forever. I think about it often. A noble mustn't act weak. A noble mustn't suffer like people of the lowborn lot. A noble must rule over them wisely. A noble must ensure they have work to do. It's not merely your own lot you have to look after. You have to ensure that 1,000 others can live by their lot as well. And there are so many more matters to take care of. Honor, dignity, tradition. It's tough, but it's what it takes to be a nobleman. Do you understand what I'm talking about? I have no idea. There is approval in your brother's eyes for the first time in a long while. I think it's the first time ever. I remember he hated me when I was a baby. It was a pleasure to fight side by side, brother. Jesus, the guy likes me. How did that happen? Trial of the assailants. Before long, the entire city hears how a gang of lowborn thugs assaulted Stephen Brante. Grandfather ensures that the brash young men are found. Some of them are taken into custody as soon as a lesser death releases them. Grandfather seeks vengeance on those who hurt his favourite grandson. Prefect Elborn, a friend of your family, promises to personally oversee the trial and ensure that justice is served. Stephen and Grandfather decide to stay in Anazotti until the trial ends. Grandfather demands true death for every single assailant. You ask Father to explain something. How can a legal court sentence criminals to true death? How can worldly judgment overrule the twins' law? Your words are true, my son. Their law is second to none. Yet the twin gods also made the empire and all its ways. The court of law exists to execute the laws of heaven here in this world. Should the court of law sentence a person to death, the law high above it will always enforce it, and so every execution brings true death. The commoners who assaulted Stephen, a born nobleman, have committed a grave offence, there is no doubt about that. And yet, according to the Emperor's decree, even commoners have the right to defend themselves when they are about to face true death. That means that all of us will have to appear at the trial and testify before the court. Evening comes. Gloria visits your rooms. She looks crestfallen, and her fingers keep reaching for her long hair. You put away your schoolbooks and ask what is bothering her.
The trial is tomorrow. I thought I was going to appear there too, as an eyewitness. After all, this whole mess started because of me, but Sir Robert isn't even going to mention that I was there. Can you imagine? He says it would ruin the case. Why am I always in the way? Nobody ever mentions me. Nobody has to listen to me. It's like I don't even exist. And I thought Stephen standing up for me finally meant something. Maybe I will become part of the family. But no, everything is back to usual now.
Gloria tries her best to hold back the tears. You do your best to comfort her. Father just needs to keep the family out of trouble.
If Sir Robert believes that I only bring trouble, why did he take me into the house at all? If Sir Robert believes that I only bring trouble, why did he take me into the house at all?
Gloria runs away. You return to your books, but you can't help but get lost in thought. What if they told the court you weren't there either? How would you feel then? There is a knock at the door. It is father. He closes the door behind him and sits next to you. There is an exhausted look about him. Son, you will be testifying before the court tomorrow. Please remember what I'm about to tell you. Gloria wasn't there at the ruins at all. You went there with your brother to inspect this historic site. The lowborn men insulted Stephan first and then attacked him. Stephan had managed to deal with the assailants on his own by the time the guards intervened. Gloria will cast suspicion on the case. If we mention her very existence to the court, the reputation of the family will suffer. Your grandfather will never forgive me if that happens. Do not let me down. We are all counting on you. On me? You recall the night of the fight like it was a moment ago. Gloria sprawled under the feet of those cackling thugs. Her poetry, her greatest treasure, scattered on the ground. She thinks she's noble. Those were the words they spat down at her. But doesn't grandfather mean the same thing when he denies that she is part of the family? But if you do what your father tells you, the trial will end quickly. Those commoners will face true death for assaulting a noble. If you mention Gloria, things will get complicated, and you cannot predict how the trial will end. What is more important to you? What is right, or what is just? Ooh, I can work on father. We're gonna try and work on father. I don't want to lie to him, but I don't want to support him either. I'll try and change his mind. If I can't do that, then I did everything I can. You look father straight in the eye and tell him what you think. You are not going to bear false witness in court. Well, I will. He is a judge himself. How can he make you lie to Sir Elborn? And what of Gloria? Is she not a Brante too? Does she not deserve justice? Or maybe grandfather is right, and she is just a freeloader who deserves nothing but shame. If so, then how come father agreed to take him into his home and under his protection? Saying this to father is tough. Deep inside, you pray he hears no weakness in your voice and sees no blood rushing to your cheeks. But it seems he is listening to you intently. The wrinkles on his forehead grow deeper, and his fingers stammer out a staccato against the armrest. This is going to be tough, son, but you're right. You are right. I took Gloria into my home, and so I must protect her like my own daughter. This was my decision, and I must stand by it. I will speak to Stephan in the morning. Now I pray your grandfather never hears of my change of heart. The day comes. The trial takes place in the lesser hall of the city prefecture. Sir Elborn himself presides as the judge. You are the first to testify to the court. You tell the court the truth about that night. How the thugs humiliated Gloria, how Stephan and you came to help her, and how Stephan defended his half-sister. Out of the corner of your eye, you watch grandfather's face grow red, yet he remains silent. There are confused whispers in the hall. The commoners on trial cry out. It's the truth. Gloria was reciting poetry, and they simply told her that she was defying her lot. The situation has changed. By this account, Stephan was not acting in defense of himself or another. He merely assaulted them first in order to retaliate against those who had insulted his half-sister. You spread your feet to stand firm and inhale before you speak next. You ask the hall, is it not a nobleman's duty to honor his family name? Gloria does not have the Brante name, but your father took her into his home. Therefore, it was Stephan's duty to protect her, as he would have protected any of you. Contemptuous chuckles rushed through the courtroom. You have just reminded the city of father's shameful second marriage. Stephan is to testify next. He reluctantly confirms your testimony, glancing at father and grandfather all the while. His arm in a sling is the main argument. Stephan wanted the commoners to stop insulting Gloria, yet in the end, the commoners were the first to assault him. After a short recess, Sir Elborn returns and rises to deliver his sentence. The court of Anizotti finds you guilty of assaulting Stephan L. Brante, a nobleman who stood in defense of the honor of Gloria, a member of his household. All four defendants are sentenced to true death by hanging. There is no wind, but you feel a gust sweep the hall. The defendants turn pale. Their mothers are bawling and crying. Everybody in the court feels the dreadful power of the law, and it is stern and just. That very power has been invoked by this sentence, and by that very sentence, the lives of 4 young men are literally forfeit for all eternity. The gallows await. Stephan stands in the front row. Father stands next to him. The wood creaks. The trapdoors open under the young men's feet. They dangle in the air, wheezing and reaching out for support with their feet in their final moments. Grandfather's silence ends at home. He screams at you and father, at Stephan and Gloria. This trial is a disgrace. His screams are punctuated by the thudding of his walking stick against the floor. Father says they had to defend their family. It would have been truly a disgrace if they had shirked their responsibilities. Stephan excuses himself to bandage his arm in order to stay out of the argument. Gloria is quiet but glowing. You stay quiet too. It is all over now. It is all over now. Nobody bullies Gloria on the streets anymore. Those 4 commoners are dead forever. Their families were taught a cruel lesson. So will it be with anyone who dares to raise a hand against a nobleman. Forbidden love? Oh, excellent. Another day of school is behind you. You are now wandering your district, taking your time before going home. It is getting dark. Soon you are walking past the splendid mansion of Count El Velasco, one of Magra's richest landlords. You hear a familiar voice from the other side of the iron fence. It is Stephen's voice. It is followed by the sound of a young lady laughing. You peek through the fence and into the mansion's garden, and indeed, there you see your elder brother, dressed like he is going to meet the Emperor himself. He is currently busy helping a pretty young lady out of the window. She locks him in an emotional embrace. You recognize her, Maria El Velasco, Count El Velasco's daughter. And as the whole city knows, she's already betrothed to another young nobleman from a far more illustrious family. Oh, Maria, I thought I would help you come down to earth from your heavenly abode, but your very touch brings me to the heavens. He picks the Count's daughter up and holds her in the air. She laughs almost imperceptibly and kisses him on the cheek. But then Stephan takes her by the chin and turns her to face him, and their lips join in a kiss. A flurry of emotion washes over you as you watch it happen. Stephan is putting the reputation of his entire family at risk. Acting so frivolously with the Count's daughter may turn the Count's influence against all the Brants, and yet Stephan always speaks so highly of noble bearing and composure and family honour. Stephan's face is glowing with joy. Your older brother, he is happy, truly happy. You have never seen Stephan like this, as his arms hold the Count's daughter in a tender embrace, so gently as though he fears to hurt her. And Maria reciprocates his feelings. Must you really rob them of their secret joy? If you ever speak to him about this, no one else must hear it. You wait by the gate patiently until Stephan decides to return from his escapades. He is startled when he finally notices you standing by the gate. Now, like I said, I'm a rogue. If he wants to break the rules, I'm gonna support him. What are you doing here at this late hour, Ud? Is there something you wish to tell me? You confess to Stephan that you saw him today in the El Velasco garden with the Count's daughter. This affair puts both families' honour at risk, yet you say you are happy for him. You can see how much he cares for her. No matter what, it is worth the risk. Stephan can trust you with this secret, you assure him. The two of you will keep it together. Stephan reacts to you with anger at first, but your supportive words calm him down. You've got the makings of a professional spy, but you're right. The risk is too great. Your raid will not go amiss. But you are no nobleman yet, but I hope your word is worth my trust. From that day on, you help Stephan and Maria avoid attention on many occasions. You even have to distract El Velasco's manservants and lead them away on a wild goose chase through a district. In the end, you are never caught, and you earn your brother yet another night with his beloved. They are both aware that the days of their hidden love are numbered. But how will your escapades affect the family's reputation? You and your brother agree. Whatever happens, happens. Young love is worth this risk. Stephan's disgrace! An adult question? God, I've met another condition. Just makes the chapter longer and longer. The day is sunny, scorching and hot. You are sitting in the yard in the shade of a tree, studying books about the twins' great descent. You hear shy, quiet steps. There is no need to look back. You know from the sound that it is Nathan. Your younger brother also sits in the shade of the tree, yet he is quiet. He is not tugging at your clothes this time. That is unusual. He is just sitting by your side, breathing loudly. You tear yourself away from the book and look at your brother. Nathan is deep in thought. He seems uneasy. He is fidgeting with a symbol of the twins, a cross inside a circle, the lash bound around the sword. It is Nathan's pendant. He wears it all the time, but not today. The silence wears on. Nathan takes a deep breath, like he's about to speak, but he does not. His face grows even grimmer. He looks unusually hurt and bitter. At last, Nathan gathers his courage. He takes another deep breath. His eyes narrow. His hand clutches the encircled cross.
Tell me, Hod, the twins, they hate me, don't they?
Nathan's voice is quiet, yet firm. The world falls silent around you. Not even a gust of wind can be heard. It is as if everything is waiting for your answer. You look at your brother again, confused. Nathan, the younger brother, the most unassuming child. He is quiet, obedient and thoughtful. He has been your responsibility almost since his birth, yet he has never been a burden. Father was always aloof around him, and mother was too tired to even smile. Even grandfather seemed to avoid Nathan with his scorn. He just treated your little brother like a piece of trash. He never called him by name, and always winced at the sight of him, perhaps because he looked so much like mother. But is it true that the twin gods had no love for your little brother? Surely the twins have enough, even for little Nathan, do they not? Nathan was born a commoner, like you. His lot is suffering. Everyone is tested by the twins before their true death. No one can expect mercy along their path. He was born the youngest in your family. That is his trial. Should Nathan persevere and bear the burden he was dealt, he shall yet reach the peak of the pillar when his time runs out. There is hope in Nathan's eyes as he looks at you, guiding others in matters of the faith. is the clergy's lot. You are no priest, yet you cannot stay quiet. You see his pain, you see his trepidation, and so you will tell him what you think. What you are about to say may be a turning point in his life. I will dispel his fears. You tell your brother that the twins are more than just law and will. They are also love. So writes Isatius, the disciple of the elder, and so says Mother. And both you and him were brought into this world through their providence. It is true that their love is quite unlike the love humans have for one another. They cannot forgive others unconditionally like mother or father would. Your parents love you no matter what, but they are unlike them. And yet the twins bear no hatred, for they descended to our world and granted us knowledge of how to live, and this is a great treasure indeed. The twins put us all to the test with the hardships they send. They watch how we follow our lots, and if Nathan suffers and feels no love from them, then that means they believe in him and know he will endure this suffering. They know he will humbly accept it and let it pass through him, let it purify him. This is the manifestation of their love. Nathan hangs on your every word. The despair fades from his face. He is smiling. He puts the chain with the encircled cross back around his neck again and hugs you gratefully.
So they do love me. Thank you. You've helped me hold on to my faith.
You hug Nathan back and hear him sniffle on your shoulder. You'll remember this little talk for years to come. Nathan's admonition event has happened. I think I've hit pretty much all of the moments. The year is 1132 and I am only 14 years old. Agony! Stephan leaves soon after the trial, alone. Grandfather does not go with him. For the first time in a long while, he lingers in the house for more than a fortnight. Father says Sir Gregor is ill and needs rest. Let's finish him off. Several months go by and it becomes clear that grandfather will not recover. Yes! The eldest Brante is mostly bedridden now. On some days, he has trouble recognizing people. When he means to address you or Nathan, he calls you Robert, your father's name. But when he does get out of bed, the house grows empty, the servants hide, Mother locks herself in her chambers, you and Nathan run outside or hide quietly in your rooms. If grandfather sees anyone in the hallway, he begins lamenting. Oh, nobody heeds the lots any longer. Any harlot with a child can marry a nobleman these days. Children have no respect. His sons betrayed him and let him down. Oh, and how the Brante family has lost its honour. Again and again you hear grandfather knocking at Mother's door, screaming that it is all her fault. He blames her for ruining his chances to find bliss in the hereafter. He blames her for dooming him to suffer at the foot of the pillar. You overhear your parents talking one night. Mother begs father to move Sir Gregor to his old home and spare the children his decline. Father refuses her outright. It is late at night. The hot, dry winds are coming. The house is empty save for you, Nathan, Gloria, Mother, and grandfather in his bed. Father has left for the capital on business. You are engrossed in the history of the Empire, snapping out of your reverie only when the clock strikes midnight. You blow out the candle and get ready for bed. You hear the shuffling of heavy feet outside your door. You see the light in the hallway. Grandfather? What could he want in the middle of the night? He looks like a werewolf! You peek into the hallway once he is past. Grandfather's figure sways as he heads for the door towards Mother's chambers. He opens the door and walks in. You hear him saying something quietly. Your unease is stronger than your fear now. You sneak closer to hear his words. You foul commoner! I have to cleanse my sins. I have to save my soul. You are my greatest sin. You and what you have done to Robert and this family. I should have put a stop to this marriage. I should have stopped Robert from tainting this house by your presence. Why, oh why didn't I do it?
Please, Sir Brante, I beg of you.
Silence! You will do my bidding. Fire will cleanse all low-born filth from this place. Fire and flame will free Robert from this disgrace. This is for my son's sake, for my son's sake, for my sake. I need to eradicate this low-born filth. The twins, they are calling for me now. I can feel it. I can feel it. The old man's gone crazy. We need to stop him.
I beg of you, please have mercy.
Mother begins to cry. You run into the room, unable to stay out of this any longer. Grandfather's gaunt figure looms over Mother's bed, a lit oil lamp in his hand. Mother is sprawled out on the bed, crying.
Please, just let me warn the children. I beg of you, Sir Brante.
Your steps are loud enough to be heard. Grandfather turns to look at you. Stay out of this hood. Be useful for once. Worldly matters concern me no longer. I see only my sins now, and a sinner I am. A sinner. The twins, they forgive no one. They will judge me by the pillar. I must do something. I don't want to suffer for all eternity. Go away. It's not going to happen, old man. Mother is crying. Grandfather is still looming over the bed, driven to madness. His hand shakes as it clutches the oil lamp. His eyes shine in the dark. He truly believes this has to be done. You are suddenly torn. What if he is right? What if that is the only way for his soul to find salvation? There is no going back now. You have but a moment to act. This is my chance, old man. I've been waiting for this. I'm gonna stop you. I'm gonna kill you. You look at Grandfather defiantly and step towards him. He stares you down with rage and throws the oil lamp at the floor. You manage to catch it, but just barely. Several drops of hot oil hit the rug, not nearly enough to start a fire. The lamp's glass is blistering hot. It burns your hands, but you still hold on to it safely. You low-born scum! You ruined everything! You're every bit like your mother, you! Enraged, he takes a swing, and you squeeze your eyes shut, but he does not hit you. Instead, there is a deep exhalation. You peek at him with one eye. Just in time to see him collapse, all his strength fading away. His chest is heaving, his face a grimace of contempt. Another heavy exhalation, the contempt is gone. There is only fear now. Grandfather's eyes open wide, almost in surprise. He exhales. His eyes grow dim. Mother is there, whispering a prayer. She is shaking violently. You put the oil lamp gently on the bedside table and call for the servants. They carry the body away. It does not disappear. True death has found him. He will never return. Yes! You spend the rest of the night with Mother in the sitting room. She will not let go of your hand. For many, many nights afterward, she keeps seeing Grandfather's shadow out of the corner of her eye. Father returns from Eterna the morning after. He is unusually composed as he arranges for the funeral. The house becomes quiet. Not the looming, heavy sort of quiet of the past few months, but the calm relief you all feel now that the crazed old man is no more. At last, Gregor Brante, the family's patriarch, has departed for the hereafter. That's it, Gregor Brante. Off. Your grandfather, Sir Gregor Brante, left this world forever to meet the twin gods. God! Last respects. The night of your grandfather's death shook your family to the core, yet, no matter how it happened, your grandfather Gregor Brante is dead and will never return. He was a fearful shadow looming over the rest of the family, the Brante patriarch, exerting his influence on all the lives below him, and all of you will remember him forever. Father is the new patriarch of the family now, yet he still cannot bring himself to sit at the head of the table where Sir Gregor used to preside. Stephan locks himself away in grandfather's bedroom every day. He will not talk to anyone. Gloria and Nathan still jump at every sound that so much as resembles the knocking of his walking stick. Mother spends all day in prayer at the temple, and yet the house has become calm and quiet with his passing. But there is one more thing that must be done. The final farewell. It weighs heavily upon your soul. The day comes to pay your final respects. Father goes to the tomb alone, save for Stephan, Nathan and you. Mother and Gloria stay at home. Only nobles, or those who may become nobles, may join this ritual. There is a solemn silence as you walk to the crypt. Father is the one who breaks this silence when you finally reach the door of the family crypt. Your grandfather built this crypt, and now he will be the first Brante to remain here in body forever. The first ever noble in our family. He sounds quite happy about it. It is our duty now to hold the sacrament of flowing blood for Sir Gregor. We will honour his legacy and join him as the founder of the noble Brante dynasty. Stephan perks up at his father's words, probably because of his jovial mood. His hands still clutch at grandfather's sword. Tradition decrees that it must remain in the niche above the owner's sarcophagus. Nathan, on the other hand, looks even more frightened now. Stairs carved of white stone lead you downward. Deep in the gloom of the crypt, atop a pedestal, you see the sarcophagus that holds grandfather's body. Father takes a moment to compose himself before paying his final respects. Gregor Brante, my father, brought our family into nobility through his unshakable will. He was a judge and loyal servant to the empire. He lived his life as if he had been born a noble, and he never strayed from the path he had chosen. He sought to make the Brante family ennobled by the sword, so that our children's children might be of noble birth. The twins know I abided by my father's words all my life, even if I could not obey him every time. Father lets a bitter chuckle as he says this. Stephan glares at father, then turns to glare at Nathan and you. After all, the two of you were born of father's shameful decision to marry a commoner. Come on now, Stephan, don't be a prick. We made friends. All of you remember his disastrous passing. He did not die the true death he deserved. Yet, we must all know he fought for the future he believed in to the very end. And he would be proud to see his family bid him farewell with his sacrament of the nobility. Stephan still glares at father sullenly. His fingers remain clutched around grandfather's sword. Nathan barely pays attention to the words. He looks around with unease, his arms folded across his chest. Father reaches into the jacket and pulls out a slender dagger, thin and sharp. He takes off his gloves. Watch me carefully, my sons. Make a small cut on the palm of your hand and let your blow flow into this duct on the wall of the crypt. It will join your grandfather's blood here and flow forever. Then ancestor and progeny will become as one. We shall enter our family's blood tide and receive grandfather's final blessing, for his blood flows first in our blood tide. He will respond to you. You are part of him and he is part of you. With a quick motion, father slices his hand and holds the bleeding cut above a small opening in the wall. Then he hands the dagger to Stephan. Stephan cuts his hand without hesitation and does as father did. You receive the dagger next. I don't want to share blood with everyone. Jesus, this doesn't feel safe. The dagger's handle feels warm. You hesitate for a moment as you look at the palm of your hand. If you participate in this ritual, you will enter the Brante blood tide. You, a lowborn child, a child who is still a commoner. Are you ready to claim your legacy as a descendant of the nobleman Gregor Brante? The eyes of your father and brothers are upon you. Nathan, the youngest brother, will follow your example. You can be certain of this. Oh, I do not have the option to do anything. I needed to be quite close to Gregor. He f***ing hates me. That couldn't have got any lower. Give the dagger back. I refuse. Grandfather. You return the dagger to father and say you cannot participate in the ritual. You are a commoner and your back bears the marks of the lash. Grandfather would never let you honor his name as a nobleman. Nathan nods in agreement. You do not deserve this honor. Father furrows his brow and shakes his head. Stephan, help me close the lid of the sarcophagus and remember to ask grandfather for his blessing. And as for you two, it seems you weren't ready to walk the nobleman's path after all. You're right, son. Your grandfather would never have allowed it. The lid of the sarcophagus falls into place with a heavy, resonant thud. Then suddenly, you all freeze as each of you hears your late grandfather speak to you. His voice is loud as it rings in the depths of the crypt, and yet he speaks to each of you separately. What? Foul-blood weakling! I knew you never had it in you to rise above your meager birthhood. You have not a drop of nobility in you, and your pathetic little brother is the same. You are a taint upon my flesh and blood. Be gone from my crypt. How about, Gregor? Instead of sharing my blood, I piss all over you, you dirty old shitbag. Your legs carry you out of the crypt of their own accord. Out, out, out of that stuffy crypt. You can finally breathe again. You hear slow footsteps behind you. You turn around and meet Nathan's gaze.
You did the right thing. If it weren't for you, I'd have done what father told us. Grandfather said I should stay away from his legacy and said it'll do me no good if I try to follow in his footsteps. How's that for words of guidance, eh?
Nathan sighs as he embraces you. Father and Stephan leave the crypt much later and walk to the carriage without a word. You and Nathan humbly follow behind them. The fugitive girl. Grandfather's passing and last respects have left a mark on the entire family. His words, relayed from the hereafter, keep echoing in your mind. You still do your best to avoid the memory of grandfather's last night and spend more time on the city streets with Thomas and your other classmates. The road by the house sometimes reminds you of another clash with death. Sometimes as you walk along that road, you recall Sophia, the beautiful girl with the wondrous eyes and the terrifying thundering hooves. You have not seen Sophia since that fateful day. The children who live nearby say her parents sent her to a rich Arknian family, the Ottons, as a servant. The sun has set, the pillar shines palely in the dark sky. Thomas is ill, so you decide to visit him and tell him the latest news. The streets seem oddly agitated tonight, full of horses, cloaked men, strange faces, and hushed voices. A young nobleman in a heavy embroidered cloak is walking back and forth, clutching at his sword nervously. There is a grimace of rage on his delicate blue face. He is an Arknian. You overhear voices. Sir Otton, the girl's not at home. We searched her house. Her parents swear she ran away from home too. They claim they wanted to bring her back. Just do whatever it takes. Turn this loathsome district upside down if you must. But bring my servant back to me. She's here. Fire? Run away from an Arknian? How can this be? There's only one place on the entire street where a person could hide. The abandoned Morel house. 4 houses away from yours. You head there, doing your best not to attract attention. The lopsided house built of yellow brick had been abandoned for 20 years or so. You remember playing there as a boy. You glimpse a figure inside even before you enter. A pair of eyes glimmer in the dark. You would recognize them even after another 4 years. Sophia has grown up. She is almost an adult now, and her face is full of fear. She is not the easygoing girl next door that you remember. She finally recognizes you.
Oh, it's you, Hood. Be quiet. They're all looking for me. I ran away from the youngest Otton. I might be in for a lesser death here, but I'd rather die than spend another day in their slavery. I I'm just a thing to him, just a toy to play with.
Sophia winces and closes her mouth as she says this. There is a glint of bright yellow deep in her eyes.
I ran to my parents. I told them all about the men I had to serve, and they went and alerted the Ottens. They don't want to be the target of their ire, but you are going to tip them off, are you?
Of course not. The barking and shouting are getting closer. Sophia's voice grows quiet. She runs off to the darkest corner of the house before you can answer. One of the Otten servants is so close you can hear his cloak swishing against the ground. He notices something and calls for the others. There are more voices around you now. They approach the house from the yard and surround it. One of them seems particularly snappy, annoyed and impatient. You have already heard this voice today. If you're in there, girl, you'd be wise to come out and quit wasting my time. All will be forgiven and you will go back to where you were. You know it, and if you don't, I'll drag you out by the hair. The hilt of the young Arcadian sword bashes at the door. He is about to lose his patience for good. Sophia hugs the wall in the dark, trying to stay still. She glances at you. What will you do? Your heart is racing. Can you act against the Arcadian's orders? Do you have the gall to defy the mighty nobleman? Okay, if I do that, I'm gonna die. She's not exactly my friend, is she? I jumped in front of her. If I try to stop him, I'm gonna die my third death. And I'm not gonna make it to the end of the game. But do I hide alone? That's not very roguish, is it? That's more chickenish. I'll try and stop him. This isn't gonna go well. You pull yourself together and walk slowly to the half-collapsed doorway. Sophia stays behind. The tall young Arcadian stares you down, his condescending smile dripping with scorn. In your most assertive voice, you answer his question. You will find no fugitive girl in this house. What are you doing here, boy? I wasn't speaking to you. Out of my way! Otten needs no permission to enter, so he steps inside. You stand in his way. You have already assured the young Arcadian there is no one else inside. You have done him a great service. What makes him doubt your words? Why, you lowlife, how dare you stand in an Arcadian's way? You must have lives to spare. Not many. Otten backhands you with immense strength, enough to send you flying. The Arcadian draws his sword. It rises into the air. But then one of the men shouts, "Sir, there she is!" The Arcadian turns around and briskly walks away. Sophia, use your distraction to climb out the window at the back. You jump to your feet and escape the house in the same way. Sophia's slight silhouette is gaining distance far ahead. One of Otten's men is chasing her down, ready to catch her at any moment. But then, something unbelievable happens. Sophia lets out a dreadful scream and the air around her sizzles with golden sparks. Otten's man falls to the ground, clutching his head. Sophia freezes for a second, as though uncertain of what she just did. What was that? Otten screams at her right next to you. So that's how it is, eh? The wench is a witch! Seize her! Magic! Sophia is a witch? Sophia's silhouette disappears down an alleyway. Otten's men give her chase, but they will never find her in this dark, sprawling district. You watch her go. Will you ever see her again? The runaway girl becomes the talk of your district for an entire week. You overhear that Sophia managed to flee the city. The Ottens are furious. After this sudden appearance, she disappears from your life once more. You will not see her again until much, much later. The year is 1133. I am 15, and this is the last year of adolescence. The blood-stained sermon. You are about to turn 15, just one step away from adulthood. Mother is acting anxious at dinner today, barely touching her food. You exchange glances with Gloria. She carefully tells you that she wants to go to the tailor. Mother shudders, and her hands clench into fists.
No, don't you dare leave home today. I forbid it. That dirty heretic Fotis is preaching his lies under the silver tree today. Twins willing, I don't want you to hear any of that.
You and Gloria glance at each other again. Fotis, he is a patriarch, the head of the clergy throughout the entire province. That is the first time you've heard Mother speak like this about a priest, especially such a high-ranking one. Once you leave the dinner table, Gloria comes to your room with a cunning expression on her face, like she's about to play a trick on someone. She has a plan. The two of you should sneak out of the house and go to the silver tree. You simply must hear that sermon for yourself. What's so bad about Patriarch Fotis? Why does Mother hate him so much? You two are grown-ups now. Surely you have the right to know. You agree with your sister. Together you sneak out from under your mother's watchful eye and hurry to the silver tree. The temple block is full of people from all ranks and estate. There is barely enough room for you to squeeze through the crowd. The crowd has gathered around the very roots of the tree. Gloria suggests that you climb up to the roof of a nearby building so you can hear and see everything better. And not a moment too soon! From the roof you see a tall, silver-haired priest step onto the platform by the tree, dressed in the common black robe that looks far beneath his rank. Yet he stands like a noble before the crowd. Behind his back is a banner flapping in the wind. The open book. This is the symbol of the new faith, the crowd whispers. The patriarch holds his hand up to the sky, and the entire temple block grows quiet. He begins his sermon, his vibrant voice rolling across the square. Fotis speaks of a great mistake. We entrusted ourselves to the lots as the only way to fulfill divine providence in this world. But for all these years, the will of the twins has been interpreted for us by a single man. Prophet Isatius. The twins are ever watching from atop the shining pillar. Of this we have no doubt. But how can we so blindly believe that we truly follow their will by following the lots? I like this guy. Have we not seen the 3 lots of Isatius fail again and again to answer the question of how we ought to live our lives? Have we not seen people change their lot in life again and again without being smitten by divine wrath? Every person born, whether human or Archnean, low-born or noble, must find their lot and their way to their gods on their own. From now on, we will seek the gods in the accounts of their own lives, in their own acts in this world, and in their own words as they echo within us. And as we heed the voice of the twins within, we will each find their path for us on our own. The crowd at the Silver Tree listens to the patriarch's speech in stunned silence. You glance at your sister. Her eyes glisten with tears as she hears Photis's words. Then, suddenly, a hoarse cry rises from the crowd. If there are no lots, does that mean that nobles are going to till the fields and the commoners are going to bear arms? The crowds begin to murmur. The patriarch raises an arm and inhales, ready to answer. An odd figure leaps from the crowd onto the platform. A dirty beggar dressed in rags. A knife flashes in his hand. The blade slices. Blood starts spurting from Photis's throat. He slumps over and collapses. A dark brown puddle spreads across the platform where he had stood. Gloria clutches her mouth to suppress a shriek. Few moments of stunned silence and the screams begin. The people are frantic. The temple guards try to restore order in the crowd, but to no avail. An old woman dressed in an inquisitor's cassock tries in vain to apply pressure to the patriarch's wound. The nobles draw their swords, dogs are barking, the crowd is pushing and shoving, children are crying, the entire square by the tree is in chaos. From the roof, you see the moment when people start trampling each other, howling, praying, shouting. Gloria tugs on your sleeve. Time to go. You climb down from the roof and run. You return home without exchanging a word. Mother has been in her room all the while, so no one noticed your absence. Gloria locks herself in her room. You do not discuss the things you have just seen. They are too frightening. But your parents discuss every little detail of the bloodstained sermon over dinner. This is unbelievable! A patriarch murdered in plain sight. The gendarmes and archduke's guards have searched every corner of the slums, and the murderous beggar has disappeared without a trace. I can't even imagine a more gruesome crime. Photis has died a true death, never to return from the hereafter.
But how? Why can't the patriarch be reborn? He's so close to the twins.
Such is the way of the world, my children. Once you are granted great power by the twins' will, there is no hope for you to come back, not even after the first of your deaths. Emperors, their powerful vassals, heads of the great Archnean dynasties, patriarchs of the church, none of them are destined to be reborn.
Photis is gone forever. I fear for his soul. It was lost in doubt. Will the twins accept him upon the peak of the pillar? We must pray for the patriarch, children. Let us hope he managed to return to the old faith. We must pray for the patriarch, children. Let us hope he managed to return to the true old faith before the moment of his passing.
But there is little hope for that. The last night. Tomorrow you turn 16. According to imperial law, you will be a full adult. Your time at Sir Tibor's school has ended. You have studied enough to apply for the Imperial College and learn the judge's trade there. You are to travel to Eterna tomorrow. Your friend Tomas will go there with you to try his luck in the Imperial capital. Mother and father prepare you for their long journey. Remember, son, there is only one goal for you. You must become a student at the Imperial College. Your teachers dragged you through all those books for a reason. You have the knowledge and fervour to be ennobled by the mantle as I was, and as my late father was before me. And who knows, maybe one day you will be the one to write the name Brante in the blue book and ensure that your children's children will be noble by birth. Then Mother speaks to you carefully. There is worry in her eyes.
But Robert, there may be another path for our son. Stephan, your firstborn, was born a noble. He will surely earn the title for the entire Brante family. Your second son bears the favour of the twins. For him, the path of a priest is a more worthy calling, no less than a nobleman's sword.
Being a priest, Mother. They have been arguing for a while about your future. Still, she would never defy the will of a nobleman and her husband. You smile at them both, trying to placate them. Gloria laughs quietly behind their backs.
Just don't become a snoot like Stephan and you'll do just fine.
Mother chides Gloria for that. You wink at your sister. Nathan has been downcast all evening. He barely touched his dinner. When everyone gets up from the table, he suddenly rushes over to embrace you.
Please don't go, Hood. Can't you stay? I don't know what I'm going to do without you.
You tussle his hair in response. There is no way you can stay now, you say, but when you come home, and you will come home, you'll tell him all your stories and bring him a special present from Eterna. This is it. All your lessons have been learned. All your things have been packed for the road. You will leave the family home tomorrow. Tonight is your last night at home before your departure. You walk through the rooms one last time. The sitting room where Mother used to read you fairy tales. The library where Gloria used to spend all her time. Father's study, which you entered only on special occasions. The backyard, where you taught Nathan to build towers one summer. The whole place feels so familiar, so dear to you. It feels like home. You lived here for 16 years. Will you ever return? It is getting late. Everyone is already in their rooms, but you hesitate. Father, Mother, Gloria, Nathan. It'll be a long time before you see them again. Who will you spend your last few hours at home with? Can't do Father or Mother. It can either be Gloria or Nathan. And I feel a little bit guilty when Nathan came to try and help, and I told him to get the out. So we're going to spend some time with Nathan on his last day. Plus, he was the most upset. So, Nathan is already in bed, snoring. You approach your brother quietly and pat him on the head. He is startled, but starts smiling with joy when he realizes it is you.
Hi, hey, can we go outside? I need your help with something.
We building towers again. You creep silently downstairs. The air outside is damp and drops of dew glisten in the night. Nathan drags you towards the bushes. A spotted kitten looks at you from the bushes with sad eyes. You see a bowl of water and some scraps of food next to it.
Look, he ran into our yard today. See? He's got a broken paw. We need to save the poor kitten.
This looks like a job for me. Of course it does. You pat Nathan on the head. Together you sneak the poor animal into the house and take him to the storage closet. Then you close the closet door and begin the treatment. If anyone is clumsy in your family, it is Nathan, yet his hands are unusually accurate and calm as he binds the kitten's paw. You start chatting as you treat the kitten. As you think out loud about living in the capital and working towards your goal, Nathan strokes the poor animal's wet fur. He sighs.
It's tough for me, you know, thinking about being a grown-up. I'm not much of anything even now. I wish I could be like you. You know where you're going and who you're going to be.
You shrug.
No, I mean it. I can't be like that. They say I'm going to study too and go to Eterna and become a priest or go to the college. But there's no way I can make it there. Does that mean there's nothing else out there for me?
Nathan, stop being such a whining little.
You'll be leaving soon, and I'll be all alone. You'll write to me, I know you will, and you'll come back one day, but I'm scared. Scared I might lose my way when you're not around. You'll come back, but it'll be different. You'll be different. I'll be different too.
You swear to Nathan that even if everything changes, you will always be his brother. You will always be there to offer him advice and support, and you have no doubt that he will find his way in life. It just takes time to find yourself, sometimes more than you might expect. The sun is about to rise. You should rest before the long trip. Why don't I just rest on the long trip? But you are not tired at all. Nevertheless, it is time for bed. Before you leave, Nathan hugs you again.
Please promise you'll come back, Hood.
You swear to him that you will. You get into bed and fade away into a gentle, happy sleep. They will be waiting for you back here, no matter what. Departure from home. You leave the family home for a long time. Your future awaits you in Eterna, the capital of the Empire. The end of adolescence. Last night was your final night at home. The carriage is now waiting at the gate, ready to take you to the capital. The clip-clopping of the idle hooves against the cobblestones counts the seconds before your departure. You take one more look at your parents' house and recall your childhood spent there in the nearby yards, at your school, and on the winding streets of Anazotti. You clashed with the greater world around you and survived. You felt the tingle of emotion for the first time. You were taught by the school and the streets. You explored the city of your birth and learned something of its past. You witnessed first-hand events that will be remembered by history for all time. All of this is yours now, forever. You saw death, lesser death, followed by rebirth, and the true death that takes and never gives back. You saw death lying in wait to strike the unaware, like a beast stalking its prey. You saw grandfather's angry grimace lit by the flickering fire of the lamp, the Archduke's cavalry trampling those who stood in their way, and your older brother's bloodied sword slicing through the air. Death has followed you from a young age, and yet you live on. You have a friend who has been at your side all these years. Thomas taught you many things, how to take a hit, how to keep your word, and how to remain true to your own self. And now Thomas is walking to the same carriage as you are, with a heavy bag slung over his shoulder. Your friend will remain your companion for the time being. Ahead of you is a long trip towards the capital and adulthood. For the first time, you will be away from your family and home. What awaits you in the future? And with that, we have the end of chapter 2 and the end of today's video. While this story does not have anything in the way of true action, it is an engrossing story, and I find myself wrapped up in the world, eager to find out what will happen to Hood Brant next, and keen to understand what my choices will mean in the future. I hope you are also enjoying the story, and that you are enjoying the videos, even though it's just me talking. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Goodbye. The video is over. Now you must subscribe. Down there. Or there. Or where? There. Subscribe.